We get called one night. And they're like, hey, we had an outbound convoy waiting to go out. And this was Delta Force and a bunch of Rangers. And we were like, oh, man. It was kind of like one of those things where, like, the power was off at the MWR. You couldn't use the phones. Mm-hmm. So they call us into BDOC, and they're like, hey, we got mission essential personnel coming in. They're going to land at the DEA compound next door. Y'all need to take a truck and go over there, make sure everything's cool, at the HLZ. We need that person brought back here immediately. Do not stop. Do not talk to anybody. Do not nothing. Load that person up and get them here. So we're like, okay. So, like, we can load up in a couple of trucks and drive out there. And they land a Chinook. It has 2 Apache gunship escorts, and they never land. The Chinook lands, ramp comes down, and these 2 freaking jacked, bearded looking, I don't know if they were CIA or they were contractors, they were SF, I don't know. 2 jacked, big old bearded dudes get off, and there's a female in between them. And she's got a thigh rig on, like a little drop leg holster with a pistol, no body armor, no nothing, and a briefcase. And I was like, oh boy, nobody's going to believe this. So get her back to BDOC, all that. A few minutes later, those guys leave, roll out. That night, they killed the shadow governor of Kunduz province, the Taliban shadow governor, that night. And I think it was December 26, 2010, I think. So fast forward this, years later, this is after Osama bin Laden gets killed. And they raid the place in Pakistan and all that and kill him. There's like a documentary or something that comes out on TV. So for people that don't know, there was a lot of the bin Laden task force that the CIA worked on. There was a lot of females that were on that task. One of them got killed at Camp Chapman whenever they blew up a V-bit at the ECP there. You've watched Zero Dark 30. I mean, that's kind of how that went down or whatever. So I get a phone call from my buddy that was in Afghanistan with me. He's like, hey, man, you watch this documentary on Osama bin Laden or whatever, and they're interviewing the CIA agents, whatever. And I was like, no. And he was like, it's on whatever, Netflix or Hulu or something. He's like, go watch it and call me back. And I was like, okay. So I watch it, and I call him back, and I was like, man, that girl sure looks familiar. And he was like, dude, my hair on my neck stood up.